What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. A little bit of a different one this time. If you guys followed the channel last season, you saw I made a video similar to this. And I'm basically not going to go game by game, but as I'm sure a lot of you know, I have the machine learning model on the website that predicts the outcome of these games. So the spread, the total, who's going to win. And I thought I would break down a few of those predictions here because even if you're not doing sports betting, this will help you in your start-sit decisions, right? Because there's a big difference between playing Derrick Henry. We're going to go over that game. Derrick Henry when he's favored by 5 versus when he's a 5-point underdog. Like, there's a really big difference in the projected game script. So understanding how many points are going to be scored, what the expected spread is in these games, that's important. That's going to help you make these decisions. I'm not going to go over every game like I said because a lot of the games, the model has it pretty much where Vegas does. One thing I want to point out, so a lot of people will look at Vegas lines. Like right here, we've got Bucks at Falcons, and it's favoring the Falcons by 4. I think my model has the Falcons favored by like 3. It's pretty close. Generally, though, Vegas is going to start pretty close to what I have. You know, they're going to have their own machine learning models. They're going to have these predictions, and it's going to go up and down depending on the public because Vegas isn't trying to make the most accurate prediction possible to make the most money. They're saying, we take a fee from every payment, so as long as we're getting even money on both sides, we lock in a profit. So that's what Vegas does. My model says, I don't care what the public thinks. I'm going to make my own predictions. So we're going to go over some games that it thinks are different. Starting off, what are we going to start off with? Oh, let's start off with the, I believe this is the Sunday night game. So Packers at 49ers. The spread right now is 49ers by 3, and the total has climbed. It was a horrible total to start off, 45.5. It's up to 47.5. I believe my model has this as the highest scoring game of the week at like a little over 50. So it expects a lot of points to be scored. But it likes the Packers plus 3. And people are going to ask, well, why? Why does the model think it that way? That's not really how it works. You know, it's not logistic regression. It's a more complex model. And there's no formula you can point to just say, well, it's because of this feature. Like I have well over 100 features. There's a number of different reasons why. But one big thing I think is that the 49ers are really good. We all know that. You know, they have like 1 loss in the season, I believe. Their defense is awesome. So I'm not saying they're bad, but they've only beaten 2 teams that are over 500, and it was the Rams, who I believe are 6-4, and I think they won that game like 20-7. It was a pretty dominant win, but no one's going to sit here and say the Rams are as good as they were last year. And then the only other team was Seattle, who they lost to. So I think they're really good, but it's a kind of a similar situation to like the Patriots, right? Like the Patriots were awesome to start the year, but they were playing trash. Like they were not playing good teams. So yeah, the spread was 20 points every game, but once they start playing competitive teams, we see the spread get closer to 3 or 4 points. It's a similar situation with the 49ers. I mean, they've beaten the Cardinals twice. They've beaten the Bucks, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Browns, the Panthers, Washington. Like, these are not good football teams. So yeah, of course they're going to win these games. The model only has it at like 2.5. It still does favor the 49ers, but considering you've got the Packers now getting healthy, they're having Adams healthy, they have both of the running backs healthy, and you've got Aaron Rodgers plus 3, so they can even lose by a field goal and you just get the push and get your money back. So I think that's a really good line to bet, and I still like the over as well because both of these offenses are definitely capable of putting up points. And if we look at what the other team does defensively, like the 49ers are awesome on defense, but they're much better against the pass, and the Packers are definitely willing to run the football with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. They can easily win that way. So both teams have ways that they can win. And ways they can put up points. So I like the over, and I like plus 3 for the Packers. The model does like Oakland. I'm not going to break that one down because it's not that different. I think it's like -4. but it definitely does like Oakland at New York. One that I thought was interesting is Baltimore. So I think this is a really bad line personally. The model thinks it's good. The model has it at -2 actually, so it thinks you should take +3 for the Rams, but I just don't see it. Like, the Ravens are dominating even good teams to the point where, like, Lamar Jackson, he's not even needing to play. I mean, they'll have him in most games. Some games they sit him for RG3, but he doesn't even need to, like, go really hard or play aggressive at all in the second half of a lot of these games. And if you're only going to tell me that they're 3 points better on average than the Rams, I mean, the Rams have not been that great this season. I don't see it. So the model doesn't like -3 for the Ravens, but I think it's a really bad line. I think it should be closer to 5 or 6 points, but it's pretty surprising that it's been bet down from -3.5 to -3. Although it's not surprising that a large chunk of the money is coming in on -3. Another line I want to talk about is Jaguars at Titans. So this is also a 3-point game. My model thinks that you should take the Jaguars +3. And honestly, if we're like thinking about which team is better, right? Like, obviously, Titans at home is very ideal for their offense. They want to give the ball to Derrick Henry, right? Like, in their dream scenario, the dude has 40 carries for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like, that's what they want to do. If it's working, they're just going to keep giving him the ball. Tannehill is like fine, but he's not that great of a quarterback. So they want to do that. And the Jaguars are a solid defensive team. I think that people think they're a little bit better than they are just because of how dominant they have been in recent years. But they're not bad. So they definitely have the chance to slow down Derrick Henry, to force Tannehill to air the ball out. And I don't really think the Titans can win a game where that happens. So I would say if you do want to take the Jaguars +3, you should probably also take the over, because I don't think the Titans can win a shootout. And if you think about the Jaguars offense, like, the Titans are really good on defense and they're at home, so that helps them. But they've got Foles back. Chris Conley has been a really nice deep threat. Obviously, DJ Chark is, I'm not going to say one of the better receivers in the league, because I want him to prove it for like another year or two, but he's been phenomenal this season, and he's really good in that medium to deep area of the field. And then we've got D.D. Westbrook, really good in the short area of the field. So I think the offense is really good. They've obviously got a nice running back in Leonard Fournette. So why can't they win this game? And if you're getting, like I said with the Packers game, you're getting 3 points. So even if they lose by a field goal, or they lose by field goal, you get the push, but they lose by 2, they lose by 1 points, you still get it. So I really like that. I would prefer 3.5. My model definitely thinks that one's off. Another one it thinks is off is this Giants at Bears game. And I feel like the public has to realize that too, right? Like, I bet this one at negative or plus, I guess, 6.5 for the Giants, because the Giants are the ones that are the underdogs here. If you've watched the Bears over the last 2 months, would you give them 6.5 points, or I guess have them as negative 6.5 against anyone? Like, I guess maybe the Dolphins, but how can you realistically have negative 6.5, which is what the line was at, against any team? And especially if you're considering the Giants are likely to get Sterling Shepard back this week. They've got Barkley now closer to 100%. They're coming off of their bye. And they're not bad on defense. They're still really good, and they're at home. But they're definitely not as good as they were these past 2 seasons, I guess. Really, last season, they were just phenomenal on defense. They have not been that same defensive team this season. So you're going to give them a touchdown. looking at what they've done offensively, I mean, it's been a joke. It's honestly been a joke what they've been able to do offensively. Trubisky looks horrible this season. Montgomery's looked solid at times, but there's only so much he can do when teams are looking at Trubisky and you're like, well, this guy can't throw a football right now. And all they really have is Allen Robinson to shut down. They don't have a good tight end. I believe Burton's on IR for the rest of the season, so he's out. You know, you've got some weapons, more gadget players though around Allen Robinson. So all the Giants have to do is slow down Allen Robinson, slow down the run a little bit, which hasn't been that great. Montgomery's good, but they haven't been that great at running it. And you're telling me they can't at least lose by 5? I don't know. I don't like that line. Still think the Bears win, but I don't think it should be the -6.5 that it was. Another one, which, that's unfortunate. It's been bet. Oh, no, that's good. It's been bet down. So, opened at -5 for Bills at home versus Denver. And now it's at -4. I want to say my model has it like -5.5, close to -6. I'd have to like double check that. But the Broncos are a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for 1 o'clock games. That's obviously not good. You've got Bills at home. The Bills are a really, really good defense. There are areas they struggle in, but they're a really good defense, and they obviously, like every team, play much better at home. And historically, the Bills have been one of those better home teams. They've been one of those teams where their defense can kind of fall apart on the road at times, but when they're at home, they're really good. And so where are they good? They're good at stopping wide receivers, more specifically outside wide receivers, a little bit susceptible to the run. And then you consider, how does this team look post Joe Flacco? So Brandon Allen is not very good. He's just not very good. And one thing that he hasn't been doing is checking down to the running backs. I think I talked about in the running back video this week, Freeman and Lindsey have 4 combined targets over the last 2 weeks. And maybe that was part of their plan going in. I don't see how that could possibly be true, but maybe it is. And maybe they want to feature them a little bit more in the passing game this week because of how good Buffalo is. I mean, it's likely that he's going to be under pressure. He's not going to be able to hit Sutton on the outside. You know, they don't have Emmanuel Sanders anymore. So he's going to be looking a ton to Noah Fant. But other than that, I mean, he's going to need these checkdowns to the running back. And if he's not willing to do so, I think it's more of like, not the coaching staff, I think he's just unwilling to do so. We see some quarterbacks just don't like. And it's not a bad thing for the quarterback if they can hit other players. But in this matchup, he's going to need to check down to Freeman and Lindsey. And if he's not willing to do so, he's going to throw interceptions. He's going to get sacked. And Buffalo has been a pretty solid team on offense. Obviously, we know this is the lowest projected game of the week. They're not going to score, neither team is going to score very many points. But if you've got a team at home with a great defense playing a very mediocre quarterback, I would obviously prefer the line keep dropping, go from -5, -4, get down to -3 would be nice. So you still get that push if they only win by a field goal. But I just don't see it. I think Buffalo is going to win this game by at least a touchdown. So, I think that was basically all the games I wanted to talk about. Some of the bigger spread, like you see with the Dolphins, my model's never going to predict the Browns to beat the Dolphins by more than 11 points. So when these spreads get really, really big, you can look at this and obviously for fantasy, just be like, well, yeah, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, they're going to be guys who are going to get the ball a lot in the second half. But for sports betting, I would almost never take, unless this was like a really good team playing the Dolphins. I think I have bet that a few times, but not the Browns. I'm not taking the Browns -11 even at home because the Dolphins have actually been improving each week, whether people want to admit it or not. They have been getting better, and I think they've covered the spread a few different times this season. But other than that, I don't think I've skipped over a game that's all that different. The New Orleans game, my model has it right at this. It thinks that New Orleans wins by a good amount. Seattle Eagles game, the line's pretty good. This Bucks game, the line's pretty good. Bears and Washington, I'm pretty sure this is exactly what the model has, so that line is good. So yeah, I think that's a good breakdown of where these games should finish, and all you got to do is think about what I said, which team should win, by how many points they should win, and kind of think, well, how do you get there? If you've got one team leading likely in the second half, it's a positive for their running backs. It's a positive if they're especially like a touchdown-dependent running back. And if you've got a team with a touchdown-dependent running back that's an underdog by like a touchdown, that's a very bad thing. So that's the end of this one. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting the like button? If you're new here, how about subscribing to the channel? But thanks for watching.